The Jeep Wrangler is probably been one of, if not the most off-road capable vehicle you could buy. But there are vehicles like the Ford Raptor and the ZR2 Colorado that can best it in things like high-speed maneuvers. And with models like the Rubicon, Jeep's niche really focuses on trails and rock crawling, more of the slow speed off-roading. So although it's great at one thing, there's other aspects of off-roading that other vehicles, again like the Raptor and ZR2, are much better at. But that's about to change. Now, if you've been up on Jeep's models, you know the Gladiator has come out with a new one called the Mojave. Now, that is a desert runner Jeep. Now, it has both similarities and differences from the Rubicon to help make it more desert runner than rock crawler. That being said, it only makes sense to have that same Mojave model in a Jeep Wrangler, not just a Gladiator. So if you're unfamiliar with what the Mojave model has to offer and what makes it more of a desert runner, I'm going to run through that real quick and tell you why this may be the better Jeep than the Rubicon. But before I dig too deep into the Mojave, you know what you have to do. You have to hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate if you hit that like button. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It looks like that. And the bell notification after that. That way you know of every new video that drops. So I'm going to start off simply. The Mojave model gets a 1-inch suspension lift in the front with 33-inch Falcon Wild Peak AT tires. Now those wheels actually come with a slightly different offset than normal and gives it a 1/2-inch wider track. Jeep said that was needed for a little bit added stability at higher speeds. It also gets 2.5-inch diameter aluminum Fox Racing internal bypass shocks with reservoirs. Now in the Rubicon you do get the Rocktrax transfer case, which gives you a 4:1 gear ratio. The Mojave, you're actually going to get a Command Track transfer case, which is going to give you a much taller 2.72:1. You're also going to get Dana 44 front and rear axles with a 4:10 gear ratio. Now, unlike the Rubicon, you're only getting the lockers in the rear. The Mojave is not really focused on rock crawling, so they didn't find it necessary to put lockers in the front. That's what the Rubicon is for. Jeep has also tuned the suspension a little bit sportier, as they say, for quicker reactions around desert terrain and a much nimbler feel at higher speeds. Jeep has actually thickened the axle tubes from 7mm to 10mm. And it gets the same cast iron steering knuckles as the Rubicon. The frame has also been reinforced, and it's also had a bigger rear anti-roll bar. Now, I know I did just mention that the main focus of the Mojave was high-speed runner and not rock crawling, but it does have a crawl ratio. And with the 6-speed manual, that ratio is a 57.3:1, and with the automatic 8-speed, it's 52.6:1. Now, if you are crawling or cresting over sand dunes, you have 11.6 inches of ground clearance to work with. And if you are cresting those sand dunes and you are at a higher speed, the Mojave does add one extra cool little feature, an Offroad Plus button. Now, what that does is adjust the throttle, transmission shift points, and traction control parameters for peak higher speed performance. Now, that Offroad Plus button does also engage the rear lockers. Now, if you're in the numbers and angles, the Mojave has a front approach angle of 44.7, which is up quite a bit from the Rubicon's 43.4. Departure angle is 25.5, and breakover is 20.9. Skid plates and rail sliders are also standard equipment. So as you can see, the Mojave is definitely more of a desert runner and a Baja racer than the Rubicon, where it is mainly focused on rock crawling and trails. This is where it's going to compete with the likes of the ZR2 or the Raptor and things like that, and maybe even the Ford Bronco that's coming out. We know that the Bronco's main focus is also going to be more high speed. Now, it will be able to crawl, but we do not know its strengths and weaknesses yet, because, well, it's not out yet. But now we know we have a Jeep for everything. You got the Rubicon for crawling, and you got the Mojave for high-speed off-roading. Personally, I'm more of a high-speed off-roader than I am a rock crawler. I would prefer that. It's a shame that you don't get the front lockers, but I guess all in all, if you're doing high-speed off-roading, you don't really need front lockers. But you have the rear in a high range, so that works. Obviously, the Mojave Gladiator has just came out. Now we're going to move it into the Wrangler platform. not a bad idea. I think personally this is the way to go. Now it is getting a little pricey since as tested, I mean, they can go as high as $57,000, which is kind of reaching Ford Raptor price tags. But if you're a Jeep fan and you really have to have that Jeep, the Mojave might be the way to go. Drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.